Warning, this video contains an excessive amount of Android bots. The creator of this video is not responsible for any type of kinks you might develop by watching his content. Viewer discretion is advised. Oh, and some spoilers, but the game is like 6 years old by now, so duh. If you make a video game with a compelling story, fun combat, and a diverse array of game mechanics that all work well without noteworthy problems, you may consider your game to be perfect. If you really wish to, you can squeeze complaints and issues out of any game. I should know, as like 70% of my content is based on things like that. But I am an open-minded individual, and if I run into a game that has no flaws that are worth mentioning at least, I think that you can deem that game as perfect. And Nier is perfect. Or so I thought. Nier Automata has surprised me in so many ways I've lost count, and I'm gonna show you how it managed to do so. Hide your kids and hide your wife, but well, mostly your kids, as well. Yeah.
I will send you to Jesus.
If you have watched any of my other videos, you'd know that I absolutely despise two things developers do in their games. The first one, adding completely unnecessary game mechanics that are designed for one single purpose and that purpose alone, that being wasting my time. The second one, assuming that just because I like to spend my Friday evenings on the couch overloading my brain with dopamine from fake experience points and fancy movesets that I somehow have an IQ the equivalent of the number of people I have slept with. Spoiler alert, that's not a lot. Yeah. And Nier has neither of those things, technically. From time to time you run into a game that indirectly tells you, you know what buddy, why don't we just give you this fast open world with tons of weapons to use, an elaborate story, and an unimaginable multitude of game mechanics. And on top of that, let you figure everything out yourself. And well, Nier is one of those games. Wow. If the game does decide to explain mechanics, it's in a way unlike any other I've seen, with you having to do things like turn up the voice volume in the settings to actually hear other people.
Hello? Go ahead and adjust. You can hear me, alright?
It's like the developers looked at every other game that had been released up until that point and went like, boring. We'll show you how it's done. I often talk about how I love games that feel like they've been made by actual gamers themselves, not just programmers who've been given a task by a department manager who earns 6k a month, who hasn't held a controller since the age of 5, playing Pong against his older brother. And this game is filled to the brim with gamer gunk. The absolute amount of nerdiness and the severe lack of testosterone is so blatantly obvious that it almost made me reminiscent of my high school days.
That's bad.
The amount of creativity they've put in this game felt like a Elon Musk on acid vibe. Normally developers are scared that people will get bored of their game, so they copy and paste the same BS through the entire map hoping you'll like it. Here, they did the exact same thing, but with one major difference. Almost every experience is unique. You go from fighting enemies in 2D to 3D, from fighting on the ground to in the sky. Simple fetch quests turn into a robot show in which they are trying to reenact Romeo and Juliet. And you have to manually buy hot elements like your health bar and level indicators, otherwise they won't show up. You might think, that's pretty weird, how come I have to do that? Well, because you're a freaking android. I probably should have mentioned that at the start of the video. You're an android! Introducing B2, or as I like to call her, Bro. Why is she so goddamn thick? 2. It doesn't roll off the tongue that well, but let me close that mouth real quick before my tongue is gonna end up in an outlet that has never seen a plug before, if you know what I mean. Humanity has left on a field trip to the moon, as aliens have attacked Earth, and their robots forced us to leave our planet. So get this, right? We built a bunch of androids to destroy those robots and aliens in the hope of getting our planet back. So are you really gonna tell me that if humanity is about to expire and we built androids meant to serve as our final push against evil and permanent extinction, that we would take the time to make them wear maid-like miniskirts and crop tops? Yes, most likely we would do that. And I'm all for it. The Witcher 3 is my favorite game of all time, and I somehow, don't ask me why, have a thing for white hair since then. So I am completely at peace with this. Why do you think your character's blindfolded? They didn't want B2 to have a hashtag #MeToo moment. This might be the only game I've ever played in which I wanted the FOV slider to be even closer than the lowest option available. This was unfortunately also the reason though it took me so long to finish the game, as playing a game one-handed isn't very productive, but hey, we can't have it all in life. With a multitude of weapons ranging from fists to swords to axes and spears, with also lasers, missiles and bullets, you can hack and slash your way through hundreds if not thousands of enemies. If this somehow is boring to you, I'm happy to announce that the boss fights are some of the sickest boss fights I've ever experienced as a gamer. And that's coming from someone who is currently going through all of the From Software games for the first time, so it really means something. Their designs are absolutely incredible. They all have dozens of different attacks and moves, and essentially every fight constantly switches from pace and camera angle and setting and environment non-stop. We go from lasers to enemies to transitions to cutscenes. Like, my simple monkey brain can't handle all of the dopamine that's being thrown at it. So, all sounds pretty good, right? Well, fun fact. The title of this video was originally gonna be "The Perfect Game Doesn't Exist." Wrong, as I truly thought that this game was perfect. But when you reach the end of your first run...
Wait, you think it's safe?
No.
The game prompts you with a, hey, did you know that there are multiple endings and that they change whenever you play the game again? I thought, cool, but no way that this is gonna actually change much, right? Wrong. You start a new campaign, but now completely from the perspective of your companion, 9S. Or, as I like to call him, 9 reasons to delete the game because man, is this guy's story bad. When I saw this, I was like, done deal. This is one of the best games I've ever played. I've never seen this before. This is sick. Until I started experiencing how incredibly boring and tedious and just overall repetitive his story was. You see, during your first run, 9S is constantly hammering about how he's hacking into enemies, and obviously you think nothing of it, as it's just one of those, the companion keeps himself busy while I am doing the fighting things. But now you actually get to see what he does during those hacking scenes. The absolute beauty of this is that those mindless enemies you've been killing actually get some screen time to show you why they responded the way they did, and all of them have incredibly sad backgrounds and reasons for doing the things they do. That was sick. The thing that absolutely ruined all of this for me though is that the hacking mechanic is nothing more than a game of fucking 3D Space Invaders every single time. Not only did this become mindlessly boring after 5 minutes, every enemy you fight needs to be hacked multiple times before they die as well. Not only that, but 9S has no moves. He has no attacks, except for a simple light attack. So you go from swinging big ass axes and spears and blowing shit up to this. And if that wasn't bad enough, whoever thought it was a good idea to make us stop every 10 seconds in the middle of some fighting scenes to play a game I could have played on my Super Nintendo? I didn't like it in Mass Effect, I didn't like it in Black Flag. I made a community post a couple of weeks ago asking which video you would like to see next, and everybody wanted to see Black Flag. But me and the Ubisoft launcher don't really like each other. Me and Ubisoft don't really like each other in general. But it's fixed now, so that video is coming out in a couple of weeks. Wanted to mention it because Black Flag is fucking sick. Okay, back to the video. And I didn't like it in this game. It sucked the fun out of the game for me, and that's especially shitty for a game in which I would have rather seen a whole different type of sucking. People who finish the game will tell you to push through this part as it gets better, and that's 100% true. As the third playthrough is right back into the action, almost feels like a completely different game again. But this? Nope. I like how the game still had the audacity to prompt me with, hey, do you want to continue as a random character you've only met once during your story, or as one of the main characters? And I still went with the random character I didn't know anything about. That's how much I hated 9S story. Turns out that didn't really matter much, as I eventually was yet again forced to play as him. I don't wanna play as 9. Oh. Okay, maybe it isn't so bad. What is somehow even worse than the boring and repetitive gameplay in this entire section is that you are essentially replaying the exact same story. So, except for a handful of new cutscenes, you are doing the exact same quest again, and the exact same story again, with the exact same dialogue again.
I hacked into this machine from the bunker. I'm controlling it.
If you now think, wow, this really sucks, you're right. So, allow me to summarize the 9S story in 5 seconds. Yeah, that's about it. It's gonna depend on the person though, right? Because the voice acting and the actual story that's being told from 9S side is amazing, like really good. It's just that the gameplay is such a chore to get done. I was rushing through it because I wanted to get it over with. And honestly, the writing in general is great. It's a tearjerker of a story, and the ways the storylines and endings all intertwine with each other is amazing. It's funny how much I cared for and sympathized with a bunch of lifeless robots in this game, while I've played or seen plenty of other games that tried to make me love their characters so much while they were just lifeless or boring. I'm sure some people loved this. I didn't. If I liked it, I would have thought this game was a 10 out of 10. I recently had a discussion with one of my subscribers who said, I'm not gonna paraphrase that, I'm gonna look it up. Games need to be reviewed based on what they try to achieve, and I 100% agree with that. You can't really compare a game like Super Smash Bros. To GTA or Metal Hellsinger to The Sims. I mean, you can, but it would be really fucking weird and stupid. That's also the reason though, right, why often indie games get insanely high scores and most of the AAA games get pretty low ones, as the indie games really excel in what they're trying to do, while the bigger AAA titles just keep cramming a lot of unnecessary stuff in there which just isn't very fun. Why is that relevant? Well, Nier is flawless in what it tries to do. It constantly tries to keep you engaged with creative boss fights and plot twists and new weapons and areas. And yeah, sure, the areas look like they're straight out of the Nintendo GameCube days, but who cares? The character models look excellent, and they clearly used all of their budget for those and things like the voice acting. And on top of that, I can't think of any other game in which the game changes that much whenever you start a new playthrough. It's sincerely one of the most unique games I've ever played, but it does show how terrible pacing and implementing game mechanics at completely the wrong time can throw someone off a lot. Nonetheless, let me know if you agree. I heavily recommend you to pick it up and to try it. It's just that the second playthrough is absolute dog shit. Yeah, I don't know what to do about that. Just close your eyes during that part and pretend that B2 is giving you a B low job. Komt wel goed.